Thank you, Helen. And thanks to the whole Teardown crew. Y'all are awesome. Thanks to the AV staff, wherever you are, for helping me get this set up. I'm so excited about this. It's going to be chaos. I'm a bit of a cartoon character, but we're going to go for it. All right, let's hit it. So I like Renaissance Hacker. That's better than Renaissance Nerd, which I've been using lately. You might know me largely from my videos at hackster.io, where for 10 years I had been on staff doing videos about new technology, unboxings, interviews, tutorials, tons of weird projects. Less so in the last few years due to burnout, which actually is pretty relevant to my talk. And then let's see, we've also got, you also might know Archimedes, my companion bot. Oh, side note, I'm still happily aligned with Hackster and doing stuff for them, so you'll keep seeing me there. Anyway, Archimedes is my companion bot, shoulder owl that came out in 2018 at Maker Faire, Bay Area, and I've been doing iterations on him ever since, along with my Fennec Fox Fenrir shoulder bot. And then we got Spinning Up, which is a piece that sort of lives in my heart as like this sort of crowning jewel of bringing together everything that I love. I got to write a song about the Dove satellites of Planet Labs, and then I made a a custom music notation called Iris Notation, and engraved a design of it on the side of one of those satellites. It went into orbit for a year and then burned up on re-entry, and it is so sick. It makes me so happy. So you can find numerous of these things on my website. If you look at my link tree, the top 2 links are relevant to this talk specifically. There's a page where I'm going to be dumping all the links that I mentioned here, and then also some other stuff. I don't know. Then we've also got a few shows. Hackster Cafe continues. That's the every 2 weeks-ish interview show with a bunch of cool people doing neat stuff with electronics. Space Song Sunday is an occasional thing I do on Instagram Live with like playing music, originals, and covers, and singing and stuff. And then Dayglow, David Groom, not Grooms, I know. I probably should have put your actual name up there. But it's a new show that we just started where we're going live, streaming and hanging out and playing with different technology. We did one on Thumby already, which you'll see in this talk. And then we're going to be doing ones on Arty Boy and Jumperless and other stuff that cool people here are making, as well as other things. So, what to expect from this talk? I tried really hard to keep it firmly in the realm of devices that specifically are used to affect your own neural state, whether that's mood or focus or whatever. I might have gotten a little fuzzy around the edges there. This is not medical advice. Imagine that's flashing in red and all that good stuff. First, we're going to start out with a bunch of things that I've designed, that friends and acquaintances have made, and that I think are cool but may never build, just because of like, maybe they're medical devices, maybe it's like actual physical brain stimulation, which gets a little freaky when you DIY it. Then we're going to get into ones that I think are fascinating because they can be very beneficial sometimes, and they can also be super creepy. And then hopefully we'll have a big old Q&A, if I don't ramble too much. Can you all hear me all right through the mask? Yay! All right, we're winning already. So, mind-altering gadgets. I'm coming up with a better name because that acronym is terrible. Electronics. So why? Burnout, undiagnosed till late 30s situation. Lots of people I know have the same issues, so it seems like a useful thing to share. I've been building stuff around these problems for many years. Why not? The problem with building stuff to help you focus is that if you have a big project you need to focus on, it's very easy to get distracted by saying, oh, build this new Pomodoro timer. This is the one that's going to help me focus on this thing. You spend 2 days building the Pomodoro timer, and then, yeah, you know. But the exception is the habit breaker device that kind of weaponized this tendency. So I was addicted basically to a cookie clicker type game on my phone, and I was like, at first I was like, gonna build a device to play it for me so I would stop using my brain on it. And then I started instead realizing that I had a number of different bad habits I'd like to break. And what if I gamified the process of breaking them And just through the process of building it, I ended up breaking the habit because I started focusing on that instead. So, you know, could be good, could be evil. All right, so section 1, stuff that I have built, may build, or may never build for various reasons. Okay, so again, starting off with ones I have built. There's a ton of different links to these. Often I've made several iterations of each of these. Like this one, for example, I've built like 6 different, it's a sort of general device that I build to test out new platforms because it works really well. So there's a wiki, the mutagen wiki on GitHub, which is one of the top 2 links on the link tree there, where you can see links to all the different versions and pretty pictures and stuff. This is a version that I built also on a video with David, where we were messing around with the M5 dial from M5 Stack. So Ke is, I should have put the character up there. It's an ancient Chinese unit of timekeeping, which equates to 100th of a day, aka 14.4 minutes. And it turns out that this is a really useful increment of time, not only for being like, the way that I found out about it was someone at my first hackerspace, All Hands Active, got obsessed with it, and we started, yeah, and we would use it in casual terms like, oh, I'll be there in 1 or 2 Ke, which is like a really useful, you know, it's like 15 minutes to half an hour, cool. But I also found that it's really useful as a way to like give yourself a little interval to check in with yourself. So if every like 14.4 minutes, you're like, am I doing what I want to be? Not what I should be doing, but like what I want to be doing, like, or how am I feeling, or any other way that you want to check in with yourself and make sure you're being mindful. Mindfulness also ties into lucid dreaming, which we'll get into later. Hypnagogia timer. So this is something that I've heard of people like Salvador Dali using, different authors, different artists, and I basically turned it into a little digital machine in various form factors, where the original concept was that you would, for example, have a plate on the floor and hold a spoon in your hand, and you sit in a chair and let yourself sort of drift off into sleep, and then once you're at sort of the liminal stage where you're really falling asleep, the spoon falls out of your hand, falls on the plate, wakes you up. You can do this multiple times, and it's scientifically proven to put you into this state where you're really good at like problem solving, creative thinking, and it really does work. You can also just like emulate this by having a list of things that you're noodling through, and if you sort of think of those as you're drifting off to sleep or as you're waking up in the morning, I find it really helps with like solving your problems. So I took an Amazon Dash button and stuck a light blue bean device in there, which was an amazing Bluetooth programmable Arduino device, and it fit perfectly. So you could just hold this in your hand, little haptic buzzer, not too shocking, and then you would push the button, it's a 10-minute timer or whatever, and then you'd like wake up after that amount of time and be like, oh yeah, I was thinking about something. Possibly not the right thing, but who cares? Okay, this is one you don't want to DIY unless you like really do the research, and it's not my fault if you kill your eyesight. So, you may know about SAD lamps, seasonal affective disorder, full spectrum lamps, shine them on your body, and you would think that it's like summer instead of winter, and it helps you feel all right. This is basically the same concept, except miniaturized. It's like instead of having a big lamp that far away, you have a tiny one this far away with the specific frequencies that you need. And there are very specific blue light frequencies that do not edge into ultraviolet, for one thing. And for another, you're not shining it directly into your eyes. These are side-mounted. They shine across your eye line, and that's how you're supposed to do it. So it can help you tweak your circadian rhythms. If you're flying places in different time zones, you can also use it as a sort of sad lamp. There are commercial devices that do this called AO and Retimer and others that I'll put in the page there. And so I used their science pages, like dug into there to see like what wavelengths they were using. Because people are already afraid of blue light and eyesight and stuff, they have published their science to make sure that people are comfortable buying their product, which makes it easier for us to DIY. So I'm really fascinated by lucid dreaming ever since I was in like high school or whatever. This is a really crappy version, but you can find nicer versions such as the Neuro Dreamer by Mitch Altman. Basically, you set either intervals or use sensors to detect when you're in REM sleep. sort of at the end of the night when your cycles are longer and you stay longer in a sort of dreaming state. And basically, it should flash just brightly enough and just often enough that it'll sort of like jerk you into that liminal state again where you're like, like slightly awake, but mostly asleep. And then it'll help you become lucid in your dreams, which basically means that you can realize that you're dreaming and then maybe like fly around or whatever. I also thought about making a wall-mounted lamp version of this because I always end up ripping the mask off in the middle of the night because it's annoying, which is the point of it. But that obviously only works if you're like alone in your room, etc. So I don't know. I've never gotten around to it. Okay, Pomodoros. Many people know about this. The concept is for productivity. You set a timer for 25 minutes to do what you gotta do, and then 5 minutes to rest, and then repeat as desired. It's a tool a lot of people use. I've built this on a bunch of different platforms, including the cardio badge from CCC, or CC Camp like 2019, which I maintain is one of the best little wearable DIY hackable devices, especially since it's got 2 different EEG readers. EKG readers, my bad. So like echocardiogram, heart monitor things. Super cool. And I've got a bunch of these gadgets here, by the way, if you want to take a look at them. Mask and breathing and excitement is a lot. Okay, so let's go on. Simpler things, if you want to teach yourself to meditate more easily, like get into the rhythm of 4-7-8 breathing, which is one way of doing a sort of pranayama meditation breathing type thing. There's also box breathing and a number of other different patterns. I programmed Kitty Young's flower brooches, which are this gorgeous Seed Studio Xiao-based platform with all kinds of cool stuff. But this specifically was just like helping you time your breathing for meditation. EEG wearables. I love building stuff that is controlled by your brainwaves. This in particular was a pair of wings that I built for a fashion show in 2013 called Haute Couture. And it's sort of inspired by the Neko Mimi, which are these cat ears back in the day that were like, built into one device. You'd have little brainwave-controlled cat ears. They do actually, work. I was able to control them to a certain extent. Also made some horns of these. All kinds of stuff I want to do with this, but basically neurofeedback enables you to be able to learn to consciously manipulate your mental state, for example, giving you little alerts when you're no longer focusing, or things like that. My friend Anouk Vepracht has also made a commercial version of this called Agent Unicorn, which is designed for kids with ADHD, detecting the P300 spike, which is that sort of attentive brain signal, and helping them refocus when they're not getting that. All right, ASMR. Autonomous sensory meridian response, I think. It's that thing of where you see YouTube channels of people like whispering and doing little stuff of the thing, or going Bentley and like flicking a car. Anyway, for me this really works for relaxation. In fact, it works almost too well, but I have a set of binaural stereo recording earplugs where you have little microphones in your ears. The way that it works to record these things is you have an actual model of an ear that you put the microphone in. You have 2 of these, so it really sounds as though it's in an ear, your ear specifically, when you play it back. 1 for each ear. So stereo tracks with this like manufactured 3D stereo sense. It really feels like you're wherever you are, but also it can be very calming. So for me, what works best for this is like rain on a car roof or on an umbrella. And I made my own personal recordings of this because I wanted to be able to like use them however I wanted and implant them in, for example, a little like portable audio device that I could just plug into anytime and be like, oh, it's my little calming machine. The problem for me was that this works too well. Sometimes I tried layering these like ASMR raindrop sounds over music at work because I was like, oh, I'll have the bouncy music, I'll have the chill little ASMR thing, and I'll be super productive. Turns out I was too relaxing, and I started like just sort of being like all drifty all day. So, good problems though. Too effective. Binaural beats. This one, I'm not 100% sure these days how like scientifically accepted it is. I think it is. The goal is brainwave entrainment. So basically you feed a certain frequency into your brain that matches one of the patterns of brain waves when you're focused or relaxed or whatever. You'll see like alpha waves for relaxation, beta waves for attention, etc. And the way that you do this, because these waves are so low in frequency, like between 4 to 20-ish hertz, and our threshold of hearing is between like 200 to 20,000 hertz, you can't hear that. So what you do is you feed one frequency into your left ear and another frequency into your right ear, and the difference between those two produces an aural beat that you can hear. If you've tuned an instrument by ear, you probably recognize this. And so that is, the beat is created inside your brain, and the idea is that it helps your brain entrain to that. To me, I've used a number of these different things, and it just gave me headaches. But I think that's because they were super high-pitched. You can make your own ones with this pure data patch I published many years ago. Hopefully still works, and use lower pitches, and it's a lot nicer. Companion bots. I should have put one people actually know about up here. But this is my constantly in progress Roko therapy bot, where instead of being shoulder mounted and cute, it's like a lap beast and cute. So it's like furry, it purrs, it's got a heater, all these different things to make it therapeutic. And this is partly based on the Paro Seal therapy bot, which has been, I think that the ADA, it's accredited for use in therapy. And they've used it in, for example, space mission analogs on Earth to test like how it helped with bringing the crew together and stuff. Roku got to meet Paro, it was awesome. And so, yeah, just bots. Love it. Habit breaker, I told you about this one already, so I'm gonna skip ahead so we don't get slow. Future builds, question mark. So, Cyril Engman built this super cool thing. I've heard of various people building these things where like you basically train yourself by clicking this thing every time you have a happy thought or a happy feeling or a happy experience, and then like you could have it play a specific tune or whatever you want, giving you some kind of feedback when you hit it. And then, then when you hit it again, you'll feel those happy feelings. Cool idea. Many people, I'm sure, have seen this already, the Pavlok bracelet, where you can basically do a more aggressive version of the habit breaker, which instead of positive feedback gives you this. Everyone's got different ways their motivation systems work, so. All right, we got the brain machine, also from Mitch Altman. This can give you weird hallucinations and apparently induce certain types of brainwave states. I have yet to try it. I'm not a huge fan of like super flashy lights and other things that you will see soon. But yeah, Temple Grandin is super famous for her work specifically with slaughterhouses, but also with people, with basically like, it's the same concept. Okay, wait, hear me out. It squeezes you because it feels nice and it's relaxing, and the concept with slaughterhouses is that like, it should be more humane, the animals shouldn't be stressed, etc. So like it works the same way in terms of like helping you calm down in stressful situations. There's a nice chair you can sit in and it'll squeeze you. The Tetris effect has been proven to help reduce the onset of trauma after traumatic effects. Essentially, your brain focuses so hard on making the little pieces go that you'll even get hypnagogic effects, like when you're falling asleep sometimes you'll get hypnagogic imagery of the block still fallen. But anyway, by focusing on this repetitive and absorbing task, that basically it goes faster and faster, and you don't really have space in your brain to think about the shitty thing that just happened. For things that are further in the past, there's a type of therapy called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, where it involves like moving your eyes back and forth between different points or stimulating your different sides of your body, like you'd hold these in your hands. I should have written that on the slide. These go in your hands. So this is another device that people use for trauma therapy, for bringing up painful memories in the past and dealing with them in a way that like your brain is kind of like loading them into memory, but not really like focusing on them. Then we got the Everyday Tracker by Simone Yetch, a beautiful device. This is quite large. It's like the size of a calendar. It's actually called the Everyday Calendar, but the link is in the slides, or it will be online. And basically it helps you build habits by having a beautiful little thingy that you light up every day that you do it. Another positive feedback mechanism for building habits. Okay, sensory augmentation. This is, I feel like, sort of tangential to the main theme of the talk, but it's worth mentioning that there's things like the North Ball, where you can build a sense of your compass heading by wearing a little anklet or bracelet or necklace or skirt that has a little haptic buzzer, always indicating where north is. Polarized light perception training. I just heard about this from Andy Quitmeyer of DinaCon. Apparently some people who work with instruments that detect polarized light will actually end up being so acclimated to seeing it that they will pick up a sense for like seeing how the light is polarized just with their regular human eyes, which is so cool. There's kind of an opposite thing actually, where sometimes people who get cataract surgery gain the ability to perceive UV light or near UV light because the filter that's part of your lens is gone, or your lens filters that and that gets gone. Anyway, I love the concept of data sonification. I brought this up, I don't know if Morgan's here, but in the Black Hoodie training the other day, I was wondering if you could use sonifying data from microscopes to be able to intuitively understand it. You can take any kind of data. Solar flares. People have tried to do this with stock market prices, where if you look at a column of numbers with your meat eyes, it doesn't really help you process it unless you have a very specific type of brain. But if you play it in through your ears as sound, our sound pattern recognition engines are incredible. So you can take whatever type of data, play it in through your ears, and gain an intuitive understanding. And they've actually learned about solar flares detecting a hum or a pattern that they'd never seen before at NASA by sonifying the data. Super cool. The guy's name is Robert Alexander. Sigh break. Okay. Acoustic breasts. Acoustic vests and bracelets, etc. People who have lost their hearing or don't have hearing for whatever reason, there's a number of people building vibrating haptic garments that help you perceive sound in a way that is pleasant. Okay. Things that I probably will not build. Transcranial magnetic, direct current, and or alternating current stimulation. So you can put signals into your brain, like little shocks or whatever, in order to prompt different types of mental states. People have DIY'd this. This person on Instructables has got a DIY TDCS stimulator, and you can go check that out if you want. I'm not gonna do it. I do not like being cold or wet, but you could do cryotherapy, cold plunges, face bath. All these things could be device-ified. Cryotherapy definitely has been, but there's proven things around how it relaxes you. The Mammalian diving response is one where if you plunge your face into water or your whole body into water and go underwater for X amount of time, then you sort of go into this chill state. It's like an adaptive thing from evolution or something. There's a lot of talk about dolphins. This is one I haven't heard about much, but fascinates me. So nitrogen gas at atmospheric pressure is narcotic to humans. There's been a study in 1975, and not a lot since, so I'm how true is this? But they found that if they replaced the nitrogen gas in breathable air with helium, which is inert to us, then you'd sound funny, but also you'd respond 9.3% faster in tests of mental acuity. And that's bonkers to me. Like, what? So like in theory, you could create like a chamber where you just like have this type of air mix and like take your meetings from there or do brainstorming in there. I'm kind of wondering if like someone actually does this and like we just don't hear about it because only like super rich people can do it, or if it's total pseudoscience or what. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that like the quack medicine people haven't latched onto this, because if you built that stuff in the shape of a pyramid and sold it to billionaires, you would be hyper wealthy. Anyway, we also know that CO2 can slow down our thoughts, so it's nice that at the Black Hoodie workshop, for example, they had a carbon meter and it was super low, and I was like, wow, 400s. Nerd. Okay. Oh yeah, platforms for building this stuff. I got a bunch of these over here, but we'll probably run out of time, so feel free to find me after. Microbit, Circuit Playground Express from Adafruit. These are great ones to get started with. They've got built-in LEDs, buzzers, microphone, like sound level sensors and stuff like that. Super good. Then there are ones that are a little bit more like aesthetic and also like self-contained, so like the Flipper Zero, the Sensor Watch. What up, Joey? If he's here. Then we got Thumby and Arduboy, which are like little programmable game platforms, which are super good for like just sticking in a pocket. They have a built-in enclosure. They're great. Specialized ones, more aesthetic, and possibly like more sort of DIY. So we got Kitty Young's flower brooch I showed you earlier with the meditation timer, the cardio from CC Camp, Dev Kitty by Alex Lind, which I think they're having a workshop right now, and then the Hey Cube, which is a Rubik's Cube that you can program, and I really want to build some gadgets with that. Then DIY platforms, I'm designing this PCB that will ideally host a bunch of these different gadget type things for myself, so I'll be able to like choose one through the different modes. And these are the kinds of things that I basically think that this is the basic feature set that you need for such a device. And so Palmeter is the name of the one that I'm building. I also might build it as an Unware faceplate by for the Unware by Chipperdoodles. Shout out to Chipperdoodles. All right, now I get into the weird stuff. Weird Earth stuff. Oh yeah. I got really into pixel art last week, so that's why there's these emojis. So this actually happened. This guy, Vic Tandy, found that he felt really anxious in his workshop. And it was only happening when there was this specific interplay between like a fan going, which was sort of like off kilter, and he had an epee, like a fencing epee, gripped in a vise that was oscillating a certain frequency that he noticed because it was picking up the vibrations from this fan. This is a proven effect. This is a proven effect. I'm not just making this up. Super low frequencies of sound at certain frequencies can make you feel a sense of dread, can make you feel like a space is haunted, can make you feel like a supernatural experience, whether that's like a sort of numinous god type situation or whatever. Yeah, fascinating. Could be used for haunted houses, could be used for nefarious purposes, whatever. Or maybe that's what we should do with the Yucca Mountain nuclear facility, just have that go forever. But honestly, there'd probably be future ghost hunters and they would just love that shit. Anyway, speech jammers. This can be useful for people who stutter. It basically, you feed back your own speech at a slight delay, and it makes it so that you basically find it extremely difficult to talk, because every time you're starting to speak, you get your own voice back, but at a slight delay, so people end up speaking more slowly or not being able to speak at all, which I think is fascinating. So someone built like a speech jammer gun with directional sound. So what you see here is like a phased array set of speakers so that they go specifically in one direction, which actually, we could have a tangent about LRAD devices. Talk to me later if you want to chat about those. They're not exactly related to this talk, but they use them at protests with the same kind of like speaker hostile situation. Anyway, so someone's made this like you can disrupt someone's speech from a distance, but also people DIY this or use devices in order to help them stop stuttering, which is cool. Subliminal stimuli. Cerveza Cristal. This is our little break here for an ad. But anyway, subliminal stimuli. I've heard varying things over time about like maybe they are real, maybe they are not. Last time I looked, they are actually like scientifically proven to work if you inject stimuli below the perceptual threshold of our brains, like how fast. I think our eyes frame rate is about 30, like 30 FPS. Anyway, so the weirdest thing I heard about with using this is so VR devices, right? VR devices are controlling your entire optical input, and what happens when you shift your gaze from one part of the environment to another is that your brain cuts out all the movement in between so you don't get dizzy or whatever. It's called saccades. Pardon me, saccades. So each of those is a saccade, like from here to here or whatever. If you can detect those saccades because you have a machine strapped to your face, and if you can then control what is being displayed to you in those saccades because the refresh rate is much faster than 30 FPS, then I think it was actually proven that your brain will accept and integrate and process that information, but at a subconscious level. So this could be definitely used for nefarious purposes if you are either programming or selling a VR device and you want to control what people are thinking about. Okay, so this one you might think is very trivial. The Annoyatron is a classic device where it basically pings every at random intervals, making a horrible noise, and the person can't figure out where it is because it only goes every 5 minutes or something, but then it could be up to 10 minutes, and then they can figure out when to look for it next. But of course, if you do this enough and at an intense enough level, you can deprive people of sleep, which is actually a form of torture. Oh boy. Anyway, okay. The social side of this I find really fascinating. There's a ton of research that's been done with making robots cute and having people interact with these, and it really makes people let their guard down. It's incredible how much pareidolia works. People love to see faces in things. People love to connect with robots. I built this robot owl that sat on my shoulder. It moved randomly every 5 to 10 seconds. People would absolutely ascribe intent to that. They would think that it was looking at them, that it was interacting with them. They would perform for it. I built one that can tell if you're smiling or upset or whatever, and people would pull faces at it, trying to get it to respond to them. This is a really powerful thing people connect with. So this is a robot that Alex Ribbon built that basically was a little therapy bot, and he found that people would spill really deep secrets to it, or traumas or things that they would never tell anyone else, any other human about. And part of that is the childlike or neotenous design that it has, which has also been used in other types of robots, like the service robot Pepper, which, so this is a Japanese service robot for use in hospitality. And they originally made it speak as a grown-up to the guest. But they found that it made enough errors in register, like politeness register, that people got offended or didn't like it. They were turned off by this robot. But when they made it into a child voice and made the robot look more childlike, they were like, oh, it's just a kid. It doesn't know. It's not insulting me. It's just kind of stupid. And so they found it was they were a lot more friendly towards it. Christine Sunu has an incredible TEDx talk where she talks about robots and the way that people connect with them. And at the end of the talk, do you want the spoiler? Oh, yeah, cool. I feel kind of bad giving this spoiler. Okay, anyway, at the end of the talk, she breaks the robot in half. She lets you bond with it, and she breaks the robot in half. And that is an incredible, to me, demonstration of how to viscerally demonstrate that concept. Oh, it's so good. I've heard of people doing that with a pencil instead. You give the pencil a name, this is Mr. I don't know, whatever, Mr. Graphite or something. That's a terrible name. But then at the end of the class, you snap it in half. Strafe is a researcher who does a ton of research on robots and social engineering, if you want to check that out. Needybot is a bot that was designed to make a corporate environment more interesting and welcoming and fun. and as the name implies, it needed help from people. So it would ask them about their names and like learn their names and stuff. But it would also be like, I need to go up to the second floor. Would you push the elevator button for me? And people really bonded with it because it like needed stuff from them. So all of this can of course be like used to cause harm. So even if not necessarily intentionally, there's the recent issue with Meta AI, where people have been talking to this robot as though it were a person and as though it were private, but it turns out that all their conversations, not all of them, but it's very easy to make that data public. So some guy gave it his phone number and told the robot to post his phone number around so that he could meet cougars with large assets. And this is on the internet now. You can easily find out who that is. No one has actually published this, hopefully, but yeah. Then there's like blue sky spam bots that look like people, act like people, but all they do all day long is post negative, disagreeing, or like shutting down comments in response to posts, basically creating a sort of toxic discourse environment, which is really interesting to me. Second half of this. So the first half is sort of like, you might treat these as people or as animals, and therefore like they have a sort of like into your brain that you can use that lowers your defenses, and you won't be like, oh, this is just a robot, I'm not gonna listen to this. Yeah. Second half of this is like concept laundering. So Boston Dynamics put out this video a couple years ago that I found incredibly dystopian because the song was "Do You Love Me Now That I Can Dance?" And it's so on the nose. It's like, absolutely, that's exactly what it did. You make your like robots dance. I know that Boston Dynamics has had this thing where they're like, we won't sell it to anyone who will put weapons on it. But nonetheless, people obviously have been creating clones and putting weapons on them and whatever. So. Anyway, and then Enki, Cosmo, and Vector are two little robots that were sold as toys/pets for kids. And those are actually, I think they're pretty cool. But the cool thing about them is that, one of the cool things about them is that they were so cute because they were designed in part by Pixar designers. People from Pixar helped create these robots, and therefore they were super cute. On the other hand, I found this Ghibli AI trend super weird, but also had the same kind of flavor where it's like you're using the Studio Ghibli like super popular, wholesome, gorgeous aesthetic and like really beautiful art to sort of sell to a lot more people this concept of AI art generation, which a lot of people that I would have expected to be like anti-AI art in general have ended up picking it up and like generating their own Studio Ghibli selves and stuff because it's that kind of demographic, interested in the same things. And so I was curious about that because, yeah, it's like you're taking this concept that a lot of people really dislike for various reasons that we could get into, but I won't. And then once you put this like beautiful, cute, familiar, like heartwarming face on it, suddenly it's like, oh, well, this is cool actually. All right. I should have brought some water. There's not any water, is there? Oh, thank you. All right, subvocal speech recognition. This is not speech or subvocalization. This is HAL lip reading in the movie 2001. But there's NASA research being done on this concept where, okay, so whether you're reading something or writing something, oh, thank you so much. Unless you've specifically trained not to do this, you probably subvocalize, which is that you move muscles in your vocal tract in the same way that you would if you were actually speaking aloud. And speed readers train to not do this because it increases the speed of your reading. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you. It was a struggle. 1 second. Face reveal. Okay. Yeah, speed readers trained to not do that so that, I'm going to put that in a safer place, so that you can read a lot faster if you're not doing along the same, at the same time trying to do this like physical keeping up with the text. And the way that I think about this being used adversarially, there already are devices that are like mounted to your body that it can pick up sub-vocalizations. I've been to this conference called Body Hacks, or Body Hacks West, where they had a device that like attaches to you. There's a number of different ones as well. There's one now that looks more like a headset that uses AI to pick up whatever. Anyway, to me this could be super creepy if, for example, you wanted to pick up someone's passwords, or if they're like reading sensitive documents. We're getting toward the place where you can read this stuff from afar, just like in the past we've been able to pick up what's being said in a room by firing a laser at a crisp packet, like a chips packet, that was in that same room. I see we have some overlapping nerds in here. Awesome. Anyway, yeah, so why not extend the technology to be able to pick up sub-vocalizations? We're getting really sophisticated cameras, especially at distances. So if you're like, that's one more thing you gotta worry about. Congratulations. If someone's like camera monitoring you from afar and sees you type in your password, looks at your throat, and is able to pick up what you're typing. Anyway, okay. Breathing break. Security. So, things to consider when you're building or choosing devices. Accessing and modifying the data on them, being able to control them from afar. What's the security situation like with people hijacking your health devices? There's also been an ongoing issue with pacemakers, for example, where I haven't personally used one, but I have heard about this at a conference about this type of body hacking where people would get updates pushed to their pacemaker by their doctor, but they're not shown what's in the update. They're not able to require consent before the update is pushed. And so like this is a channel for attacks. And then when it comes to ownership and longevity, there's a number of different implants people have had and exoskeletons. So the ATI implant, I'm not bringing it up to my mind right now, but I think it was an ocular implant. I could be wrong. But it helped people see, and the company decided to stop supporting it or stop maintaining it, and people were basically like left in the middle of nowhere with their implant. More recently, in 2024, there was an exoskeleton. I think the guy's name was possibly Martin Straight, but I'll put it in the link, in the links doc that's linked on the link tree, where basically there was one faulty connection to a battery. There was like a $5 battery, I think, and like many thousands of dollars exoskeleton that the company refused to maintain, and it was like 5 years out from when he got the exoskeleton, and that was like the end of their service window or something. So he's stuck with this like, you know, tens of thousands of dollars exoskeleton that he relies on for everyday life that no longer he can't use anymore because of one faulty battery connection that the company refuses to fix. And so when you look at things like Neuralink, it's like, oh, you're gonna like put little threads inside of your brain, and then like 2 years down the line on somebody's whim, it's like not gonna be supported anymore. Like all of this stuff makes me super leery of implants, but more power to you if you wanna do it. But when it comes to, you know, there's so many reasons that I'm leery of commercial implants like this, but especially this is why I think that like there's this need for like DIY ones, open source ones, stuff like that. So y'all are the best people for this. But yeah, I think we got about 10 minutes. That's awesome. So ask me stuff, tell me about stuff that I forgot. I know people love to do that. I would love it if you did that. Great. Don't do the thing if you're gonna blame me for it. All right, again, the top 2 links on here are that wiki page on GitHub with a bunch of the devices that I have built. And then also there's this page where I've started filling it out with a bunch of the links that I talked about in this talk, and I'm gonna continue filling that out over the rest of maybe today. It might be a little busy, but in coming days, it'll get built out more fully. It also lives on my project site where I can explore a bunch of other stuff that I do. And then there's these. Okay, cool. Did I leave enough time for questions? I think we got some time for questions. Okay, cool. What's up? I did not mention subdermal magnetic implants for sensing electronic current. That's a great point. That would fit really nicely into the sensory expansion and augmentation slide. Should add that. Let me write that down, actually. Not there. Not there. Nope. Okay, well, where did my dang slides go? Oh, wait, I think I gotta do this. Nope. Firefox? Hey, I'm gonna put that on there. Let me write it on my phone. Okay, anybody else? Sorry? Cool. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, where people were implanting magnets in their fingertips so they could sense electrical currents, which is super cool. However, the first few ones of these that I heard about eventually broke down inside the fingertips because they didn't put any kind of coating on it, and it would break down inside your body. So they've made many advances to this. Actually, Claire, who's here, has a really cool NFC subdermal implant, which glows when you when you put your phone close to it and you read it, and it like goes to her amazing information. So many cool things with that. But yeah, for sensing current, that's so cool. What's up?
So your nitrogen thing's entirely correct. So
Yeah.
read up on technical scuba diving. The rule of thumb is every 10 meters you go down, every 33 feet is like drinking a double vodka for meditation. So
Nitrogen narcosis.
and helium is used in deep diving to take the nitrogen out, you reduce the oxygen so that you can still operate at depth. It's down to the partial pressure.
Absolutely. And that is part of the challenge in trying to research this, and its use for just like for nootropic effects at the surface, because when you look for like nitrogen narcosis or like narcotic effect, replacing with inert gas, etc., you'll find almost entirely results about diving and the nitroxpics and how people use helium instead and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's part of the reason that I've had trouble figuring out how legit this science is. But it makes sense, right? You know, like if it's doing it at depth, of course there's an effect at the surface. I'm just shocked that no one's taken this further. What's up? Oh, yeah.
You can go to a scuba shop and buy Heliox mixture. They're probably going to ask for your cert, but you could do experiments. Again, your mileage may vary. Don't fuck yourself up.
There we go. Anyone who wants to chat about this, by the way, hit me up on Discord. I'm Alex Glow. My parents cursed me with 4 consonants in a row, so I'm glad that I said that right.
I appreciated your words about the danger of robots in our society, and I'm wondering how you maintain objective distance with your companions.
I do not. I do not maintain an objective distance with my companion bots. They're explicitly little friends for me. And fortunately, I guess I trust it a lot more because I'm the one who built it, so I know what's in its brain. Cool. We got a visual hell yeah from the back there. Yeah, for me the point is to bond with this critter. One thing that I have trouble with is, especially in terms of motivation, is autonomy. There's this concept of persistent demand for autonomy, which I do not like being told what to do, even if it's past me telling me what to do, or it's for the benefit of future me. I hate it. And so I'm hoping that at some level, if I make a creature that is charming enough, I can get it to tell me what to do, and I'll actually do it. Anyway, motivation is an ever-escaping me goal. That sentence didn't work, but yeah. What's up? Anybody else got cool things? What's up?
Hi, I also appreciate you talking about the robots and the interface, the pareidolia and fooling yourself with the interface. Have you ever done or learned of anything where this is mediating communication between 2 people? For example, someone interfaces with the machine and that interfaces with the other person in order to modulate or modify how they're communicating with each other.
That's really interesting. Sort of. So what you're talking about, having a robot sort of mediate in between 2 people who are talking, sounds like an incredible tool. In a similar vein, but not quite the same. So do you know about the iPad on a stick thing? You're at a conference and there's an iPad on the stick and someone's driving it around and you're looking at the screen and it's it's cool, but it's also kind of like a gimmick. My future concept for Archimedes, the owl, is that he would sit on a little perch at a conference and be able to go around, because he's got a little camera in his eye, which I always make sure I label that it is recording and stuff. People love interacting with companion bots. If you put the owl on a stick and have it roll around, people would love interacting with the little owl on a stick. And I think it'd be a more enriching experience for people who are remotely viewing. So to get that connection between the remote viewer and the people at the conference, I think the challenge would be like showing who's actually on the other end. And of course, there's like tons of vectors for attack there. But also, it could be a more like enriching and engaging way to provide telepresence, which to me is very compelling for like, there's like health reasons, there's like carbon travel reasons, and all these good reasons to make telepresence suck less. Cool. Awesome. Thank y'all for coming. Please come find me. I got a box of toys we should look at. It's real cool. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you again, Teardown. Thank you for the water. Lifesaver. Awesome.